thank you very much. The Executive Advisory meeting on Wednesday, the 30th of November. It's not far off being December, is it? We're holding the meeting via Teams, as you probably gathered. And we're here to consider reports on the agenda and then for the executive to make recommendations to me. And then I will make the decision in line with the power vested in me. Over to you, Layla.
Good morning, everybody. Just to say, in the event of a technical failure, the leader will adjourn the meeting, and a copy of the recording will be available on the Council's committee pages in the next few days. Hopefully, everybody received the amended agenda that was issued late last night.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I'll now go around the executive and ask you to confirm that you can see and hear, please, starting with myself, and I certainly can see and hear, which is always good. We have had a couple of apologies. Councillor Mike Caswell.
Good morning, Leader. Good morning, everybody. I can clearly hear and see everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Good morning, everybody. I indeed can see and hear everything clearly. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Gilling.
Good morning, Leader. Councillor Andrew Gilling. Ditto. I can hear and see everything.
Good. And Councillor Mark Healy.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Mark Healy. I can clearly see and hear everything perfectly well. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Right. Sorry about that slight technical problem. And we have management team here today. Mr. Bamsey.
Good morning, Leader, members. Doug Bamsey, Deputy Chief Executive. I confirm I can hear and see everything.
Stephen Hellard.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Steve Hellard, Deputy Monitoring Officer. Confirm that I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Mrs. Monteith.
Hi, Alison Monteith, Deputy Section 151. I can see and hear everything.
Good. And we've got Peter Hatch here as well.
Morning. Yes, I can hear and see everything. Thank you.
Good. And by no means least, but probably last at this moment, the Chief Executive.
Morning, everyone. Bob Brown, Chief Executive. I can see and hear everyone. Thank you very much.
Right. And we've got other members of staff with us, Simon, Nathaniel, and probably others. Sarah Dowden. Welcome. And without further ado, we also have a couple of other councillors as well. Good. Without further ado, we'll move on to the agenda. And the first item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Leader. We've received apologies this morning from Councillor Jill Slocum and Janet Keane.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda is minutes. Are you all happy that I signed the minutes of the meetings on the 4th? That doesn't 4th of December 2019, really? Yeah.
Yes. Right. So we're just going through, Leader, all our minutes and everything, and these seem to have skipped. I think it's when we went into lockdown.
Right. Okay. 18th of December then 2019 and the 5th of August 2020. They've been previously circulated. Are you happy that they're signed as a true and fair record?
Aye.
Any objectors? No. Okay, good. Moving on then, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest?
Leader, if I may, as a formerly remunerated member of the drainage board, Axbrew Drainage Board, I perhaps ought to declare a pecuniary interest. But I leave that to the legal team to confirm that that's a requirement.
Mr. Hellard?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Gillen, you cut out slightly.
Yes,
I didn't quite get it.
I have been in receipt of an honorarium as a former chairman of the Drainage Board. Now, whether that makes me liable to any declarations or not, I'm not clear on.
In relation to which item?
If there's any item that mentions drainage boards particularly, I know there's no specific.
No, I don't believe there
okay,
is.
fair enough. But I thought I'd mention it at
no.
the point just to waste a bit more time.
Certainly from reading the agenda, I didn't notice any mention of drainage boards whatsoever. But there you go. Right, we had Councillor Doddridge.
Yeah, sorry if I could. There's an item dealing with housing kind of come up a little bit later. I'm not quite sure what number it is, but there's a thing I would declare as a board member of Homes in Sedgemoor. Person
Right, thank you. Mr. Hellard.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Just to say that personal interests have gone now, so it's an other registrable interest.
In
but
that
there
case,
is
I declare an other registered interest.
Yeah, that's right. There is an exemption in the code that allows you to take part as a member of a local authority controlled company. So that's fine. Declare and take full part.
Thank you, Mr. Adler.
Good. Well, we got that thorny topic out of the way. Let's move on then to any urgent business. I have none. Thank you. Public speaking time. We were due to have one member of the public speaking, but they've clashed with another engagement that they have. But we have had circulated to us the points with which they wish to raise, and when we come to that item, which is the bridge, we will no doubt address that at that time. And then without any further ado, agenda item 6, corporate dashboard.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. As always, I've got Mr. Tanley with me with us to give us a detail. A couple of items I pick out. Very positive report on. We got 88% of our KPIs on target. I think that's the highest for nearly 2 years. We got very few actions that are overdue, and those that are outstanding, work is in progress on them. And I think there's some notes attached to the report explaining what's happening with those. One thing that members might have picked out, customer satisfaction PIs are slightly below target. That's largely due to a massive volume of calls we've been dealing with and with some complex issues. And we did have a recent customer service accreditation, which actually marked this up. So I think the figures don't give the full picture of the customer service that we're giving. But I'll hand over to Mr. Tanley, but I'll be very happy to take any questions after.
Thank you, Councillor Doddridge. Yes, so conscious of the extensive agenda today, I'm going to try and keep things quite brief and give a very brief overview and then take any questions. The numbers behind everything are that at the point of reporting, we only had 5 actions overdue. Of those, 4 had lots of progress against them, plus the notes to explain where they are. One that didn't have any information against it has now actually been completed. So that is something that I no longer have any concerns about. And I just want to mention the BAU group, as we've mentioned in the past, the business as usual task coordination group has been really useful, especially for me, but making sure that everything, all activity that we are involved with across the council is being managed properly, and it's really helped us to ensure that actions are kept up to date and managed where necessary if they're going overdue, which has made the report that much more positive. Councillor Doddridge also mentioned the number of PIs on target. We had 88% on target, which is the highest I think since Q1 of 2020-21. So again, something that we should be lauding. The work that our authority is doing is extremely good and has been throughout the whole of the pandemic and all of this time that we've been transitioning across to a new unitary authority. So really it's just thank you to all of the services. Unfortunately, there were 3 PIs that still haven't been reported yet for Q2, and if we had those reported, they are historically green, so on target, and that would actually have pushed up our percentage on target even further. We would have potentially had 89% on target. So a bit of work to be done there to make sure that those get reported for not only for Q2 but for Q3 in time for the next executive. Also mentioned was the customer service excellence accreditation. We had previously been accredited with a score of, let me just get the wording right from the email from Gareth, the compliance plus criteria. The last time we were accredited, we had 11 compliance plus criteria. That has actually been raised up to 14. And as part of the exercise, the customer service excellence assessor was aware of our performance against the customer satisfaction target. And they took into consideration the fact that the LGR, due to LGR, the website could not be transformed to the scale we had planned. However, improvements have been made to improve accessibility, and this is reflected in the website's high accessibility score. And they're also pleased that customer satisfaction is now being reported within our performance framework. And that has, for those reasons, they have raised our score. So again, something to be really proud of. So happy to take any questions on the report as a whole.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, over the last few years, we've come to expect a degree of excellence with the performance indicators reported, and we have taken it probably for granted that we're doing quite well, which is, you know, shouldn't detract from the fact that it really is quite outstanding given the situations that we've been in over recent years. So, you know, my thanks to everybody as well that we've managed to maintain the high standards and improve upon them. So congratulations to all involved. Members, any comments or questions? No. Okay. Nothing further than to note the report and to deal with any requests for any escalation, which will be done. So all members happy with that? Any against? Layla?
No, Leader, that looks to be carried. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Moving on then to agenda item 7, quarterly performance, customer access delivery. Councillor Lance Duddridge.
Thank you again, Leader. Yeah, again, very positive report that Mr. Townley gave us the detail on. We always mention our planning performance. That again, processing of all forms of applications is again in the top quartile. Probably something else to mention, we all know the new cinema over at Northgate Yard, that's open, and as I live about 30 seconds away from it, I can guarantee it's doing a roaring trade at all hours of the day. And the bowling alley and the hospitality end of it, I think I'm right in saying, is in the process of being completed. I know Mr. Councillor Healy will probably give us some more detail on that. Again, I'll hand over to Mr. Tandy, but very happy to take any questions now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duddridge. Yes, so the first thing to mention on the report as a whole is we've had a bit of a change of the format for the first part of the finance reports. So the general fund summary has been amended to be in what is hopefully a more readable format. I don't know if Alison Monteith wants to say anything on that, but I'll give her the opportunity if she wants to at the end. Obviously take any questions on those parts of the report as well. As Councillor Duddridge mentioned, the Northgate Yard part of the report shows that the site is now open, has been now for a few weeks. I wasn't aware of how well the trade was doing for the cinema, but having walked past it a number of times, I've seen that there are lots of people going in and out, so that's good. The restaurants are currently being fitted out. I believe 2 of them we may be able to announce who those are going to be in the coming month or so. And then the bowling alley itself, I believe, is not due to be open until springtime. And my understanding is that's still on track as well. The very end of the report, there's notes on planning performance. That features generally every quarter because our planning performance is historically so good and continues to be. We have the speed of processing of all types of application in the top quartile. That has been the case now for some years and continues to perform well. Any questions on the report? And then we can hand over to Peter Hatch from Homes in Sedgemoor for their part of the report.
Right. No, as you say, I mean, it's another good report. My only plea is that I hope the new council follows our example of how to do things in the most efficient and best way possible, and not try and sink the standards low to accommodate all within the new council. Councillor Healy.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just because Councillor Lance Studridge mentioned my name about the Northgate Yard. Yeah, what a great success it's been for us and will continue to be. And I think I might, if I may use your words, Leader, hopefully the new council, as from next April, will not lower their standards and look at Northgate Yard as one of the pilot schemes going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions before we go to Peter? No, Peter.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, so you see the latest performance report there for Homes in Sedgemoor. I wasn't going to go into too much detail, probably just pull out 3 things on there. You'll see that voids have been quite a challenge for us. We have had a number of sheltered voids in the last few months, which have really put pressure on our lettings team. So we're starting to work through those now and also review the lettings policy for those as too. We've also had quite a few major voids. So these are properties that have come back after many years of occupation, and we're putting significant money into rehabilitating them. Customer service, I think, as Councillor Dudridge raised earlier, is quite a volatile time for us. You'll see that our data has gone up and down, but generally we're still above the median for similar sized organisations. We had a really good month in August where we hit 88%, the highest we've had on record. Rents are still holding out really well. So our rent arrears are still below 2% for this report, which is a significant feat in the current climate. You will see on Appendix C, there's a colourful document. It's Housemark. This is the national benchmarking service that we belong to. And we thought it's useful just to share because it gives you a comparison with similar size organisations across the country. And hopefully when you see that, you'll see that we are faring certainly median or above median in most of those areas. Rent arrears is our sort of stellar area for the time being, although you'll see the trajectory for everybody is rent arrears increasing. So that's all I was going to say, but happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I would say in general terms of all the reports, it's quite comforting. Yeah, and thank you for that. Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Leader. I don't know whether you'd be able to answer this, but just to get a sense of how we compare to Somerset West and Taunton. Obviously, we're going to be bringing the housing stocks together. Do they do something similar to this on a regular report to their executive, do we know? And if so, how do they fare against some of these standards?
They have a internal report, a lot of KPIs. They don't report against all of the Housemark data that we're presenting here. So it's quite hard to see a comparison against their performance. I think in terms of rents, we outperform them. I'm sure there are areas where they're probably comparable to us. But I haven't seen a report such as this for Housemark from them yet.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Members, then, any other comments or questions? Mike, is that a hand up or a question?
No, Leader.
No,
Not from me.
not from you. Okay, right. Anyone else?
Yes, Leader, if I might, just a quick comment. So, Peter, I just wanted to clarify for those, the wider audience, that the numbers of complaints or problems we've encountered over the mould and damp situations around the country, because that obviously is creating a few ripples. Obviously, the tragedy up in Northamptonshire or wherever it was a crisis that could be avoided, I'm sure, but needed to be addressed at some point. I'm hoping that Peter can give us some reassurance that is the case.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Gilling. We've had the direction from the regulator of social housing through Bob's team. So we're in the process of completing a survey that has to go back to our regulator. We did review our approach to damp, mould and condensation about 18 months ago. We had our board meeting yesterday. We presented to them a brief position statement on where we are. So I think whilst there's always more we could do, and we're looking at that, I think we're relatively comfortable and confident in our approach. It's a very quick service. If you report it, we aim to be out within 2 working days to treat any affected areas. One challenge that we do have is those areas of damp and mould that we're not aware of. Once we're told, we act swiftly. There are cases, I'm sure, across all housing stock where we're not advised of this. So our key area at the moment we're looking at is trying to improve that proactivity. The news in the media last week has really helped. We've had a number of inquiries, and our surveyors dedicated all of last week to inspecting that work. And what we're finding, some people were sort of, how can I put it, quite potentially embarrassed to invite us in and show us this. And we said, no, that's fine. We'll come and deal with it and treat it from there. So I think I'd like to reassure everybody that we have got robust processes in place, but we are still reviewing them, and I think we can do more, particularly where that proactivity is concerned. Encouraging people, we produce a number of videos on social media. We're going to put a campaign out in the coming week, just to say to people, if you've got any concerns, just call us and we will have somebody out straight away to have a look at it and deal with the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that's really reassuring. I mean, damp and mould have always been problems, but it's only been a relatively small number of people or properties. I mean, my only concern would be with the cost of living crisis if people are not using their heating in the same way that they would because of affordability. That may add to the problem, and I think the proactive approach is certainly the way to go. And I'm really grateful that you were paying attention to this before it became an issue recently. So that's good. Yeah.
Thank you, Lead. If I may just come in on there, the board approved the use of some of its reserves several months ago to recruit a warm home coordinator over the winter months to deal with these very issues and make sure that everything was connected up with both our teams and SDC's teams. So we've got all of those mechanisms in place at the moment, because we know that people will not be putting on heating, and that's going to exacerbate any potential problems. So we have got a team and a resource particularly in place this winter.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just to repeat really what Peter said, we did discuss this at board yesterday, and I think the board felt reassured about the plan we've got in place, and also the tenant members of the board were happy with what we're doing, which is probably a good sign. So I think, yeah, it's something we've really got to keep an eye on. I think the path we're going down is the right one at the moment.
Yeah. Good. Right, members. Any other comments or questions? Happy to note the report and the actions taken. Then any against? Any abstentions? Leila.
Thank you, Leader. That motion is carried.
I'm happy to support. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much for your attendance, Peter, and look forward to seeing you again in person one day, perhaps. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Indeed. Leader, I'm aware there are some papers coming up under the exempt items as well that I was here to support Teresa with. So I just wonder, is it appropriate for me to just remain in here?
Yep, perfectly happy for you to do so. Yep, thank you. Yeah,
thank you.
If you can stand the excitement, you're more than welcome. Yeah. Right, members, moving on to agenda item 8, Town Fund Business Case Assurance Project 1011, Docks Regeneration. This would normally be put forward by Councillor Slocum, but she's languishing at home, recovering at the moment. Thankfully, she's recovering after a brief trip back to hospital. She is now on the road to recovery. I don't propose to say anything more than, this is an area that we wish to support, I'm sure, and hand straight over to Nathaniel Lucas. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader, and good morning to everyone. Just before I kick off, kind of running through the paper, just to say that this is, the culmination really of 2 years of work in terms of this business case and the one that follows this one as well. So, it's been a huge amount of work supported by officers and members across the whole of the authority to kind of get it to this stage. And following these, all being well, the sign off of these two papers and support from the executive, we move through to the delivery stage, which will be an adventure and a journey in itself as well. So the subject of this first paper is around the regeneration of the docks and the investment into walking and cycling infrastructure. Members will remember at the submission of the tip, originally these two projects were separate, but we've linked them now on the basis that we think there is benefit from both projects' funding being merged together. And that's from the perspective that in reality, it will support the delivery of the docks. We are aiming to use elements of the walking and cycling town deal funding to support the kind of landside development of the docks themselves. The total drawdown of funding from the town deal will be 5.2 million, and that's split between 4.2 million towards the docks and 1 million for walking and cycling infrastructure. And the combination of these two projects support the town deal objectives by diversifying the town centre offer, and that's through the creation of a kind of leisure and tourism activity focused around the docks, but also supporting movement around the town for the investment into walking and cycling infrastructure. So in terms of background, the docks itself, it is, as everyone will be aware, currently in a poor state, and this project will look to address that through the restoration of the historic structures. But like I said, also it's around creating that kind of new leisure kind of visitor facility alongside supporting residential living on the docks as well, which was something that occurred prior to the town deal itself. Walking and cycling infrastructure infrastructure project, hopefully members can remember, was initially in the tip a number of different schemes around the town centre, around the town itself. Elements of that have been picked up by the successful bid by Somerset County Council into the Levelling Up Fund. So we've kind of looked to reevaluate the walking and cycling infrastructure, and we felt that focusing on the docks is actually the kind of the jumping off point for many areas of the town itself. Links very well with the northern area of the town. Significant employment land and residential as well, and provides that access to the town centre, being able to utilise the docks in its regenerated state, but also Northgate and a whole host of other areas within the town centre itself. In terms of current position, the docks has been taken up to REBA stage 2 from a kind of design feasibility perspective, with QS derived costs associated with that, which has enabled us to provide the detail in terms of the elements of the docks that we rejuvenated. And the walking and cycling infrastructure is in a similar position in terms of its outline design alongside costings as well. From a governance perspective, this particular business case has been through the Town Deal Board and has been signed off, and also been through the Internal Assurance Board on the 21st of November. Just something to be aware of is that the match funding in the main has been secured for this scheme, However, I do think it's worth making members aware that we are still negotiating an element of that match funding, and we expect confirmation of that very shortly. However, in terms of being able to mitigate against that, we are fully able to value engineer the scheme if required, and we'll still be able to deliver the benefits that are associated with the scheme itself. In terms of the economic benefits across both schemes, we anticipate somewhere in the region of £10 million worth of additional economic benefits from a combination of the docks and cycling. And what that looks like individually is somewhere around 1.8 million of economic benefits associated with walking and cycling infrastructure investment, and around 8.5 million associated with the docks. So to conclude, this particular project, or these two projects, I should say, deliver on the town deal objectives, as I outlined earlier on, has been signed off through internal governance via the town deal board and through the assurance board. And in terms of its value to Bridgwater, absolutely will deliver a huge amount of transformational benefit for the town itself. So I'm conscious I haven't been through comments or the risks, but absolutely happy to answer any questions associated with that or anything off the back of what I've covered so far.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, again, we were lucky to be awarded the money in the first place. My only question is, when can we get started? Because this will complement all the other developments that are taking place in the town, and actually show it as an exemplar compared with the others in town deals in the area. Councillor Mark Healy.
Yeah, thank you, Leader, and thanks for that information. Well done. Clearly I'm totally pro this. It's a great extension to Northgate Yard as you walk through. My only one question I'd like to ask, and maybe you can answer it, Nathaniel, or maybe Doug Bamsey can. Bowring's feed mill, of course, a little bit, with no disrespect to them, a blot on the landscape at the moment. I know there was talks a while ago to maybe convert that particular building into some sort of flat situation. Anybody got any updates? Could it be a shame to rejuvenate the docks area and leave that particular building, as if I may dare say this without fear of retribution, a blot on the landscape? Thank you.
I think Doug can probably answer that with some relatively recent information.
Yes, thank you, Leader. We have, you're quite right, Councillor, we've been long considering that, and we very much encouraging the owner of that site to come forward with proposals in the knowledge of and working with the docks project, which gives them hopefully a ability to see very much different outcomes than otherwise might be. As it happens, I've got a meeting with the owner's agent next week just to talk through where we are exactly with that and our ability to take forward with resources available at the same time, knowing that the docks project has got some momentum. So it's very much on our radar, Councillor Healy, ongoing conversations. I very much think it's a project that will follow, in simple terms, rather than lead the regeneration of the docks. But that, that's a positive thing in itself.
Councillor Healy, is that okay for you?
Thank you, Doug, for that. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Leader.
Right, members. Any other comments or questions? Or are you happy that I go to the recommendation? Okay, the recommendation is as before you. Are there any objections? Any abstentions? Leila.
Thank you, Leader. That looks to be motion. Sorry, I've lost the plot.
Recommendation for
yes,
approval.
the recommendation's approved. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Right, moving on then to part two, agenda item 9, Town Fund Business Case Assurance, the Project 9, which is to do with the Carnival. Without further ado, you've got the executive summary there and the recommendation to allow drawdown of 3 million. Over to you, Nathaniel.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, so this is the last project which forms part of the Bridgwater Town deal in terms of getting the business cases off. And this project covers, as you said, the Bridgwater Carnival. The project itself will deliver a new and improved workspace for the Carnival clubs, which will safeguard the future of Carnival, enabling it to continue to deliver the amazing spectacle year on year. I don't know who has been up to the current carnival site, but I can confirm that I have, and it absolutely is in a bit of a poor condition. And I think it's amazing in terms of what the carnival clubs produce from that site. So absolutely, this project will provide that kind of long-term sustainability for the carnival going forward. The total drawdown for the town deal is £3 million, and this the project delivers against the town deal objectives through maximising community potential, and that's through supporting local volunteering. So by improving the site, it will undoubtedly attract more people to be involved in carnival, but also it enables us to be able to kind of develop that, or I say us, the carnival, to develop that relationship with the Bridgewater and Taunton College in terms of apprenticeships and skills development as well. Re-energising the town centre is also one of the key objectives for the town deal, and this project supports that by safeguarding the carnival itself, which is intrinsically linked, with the town centre, not only in terms of the events and the lead up to the actual carnival, but also the kind of the main procession itself as well. In terms of current position, we were very fortunate to secure £265,000 worth of community renewal fund investment. And this has taken the project itself from nothing really up to REBA stage 3, with a planning application being submitted probably over the next couple of weeks. What that work has done, though, it showed that the initial project that was included within the TIP, unfortunately, is not deliverable, and that's due to issues with the site itself. And we would have not had any idea about this unless we'd been able to invest the community renewal funding into that as well. It's shown that the site suffers from poor drainage, which ultimately has increased the overarching cost of the scheme itself. And it's for that reason that what we're taking forward in terms of the scheme itself is a reduced scheme, which will deliver 5 carnival sheds, but actually will deliver the infrastructure for the site itself, so laying the foundations for that future development of the site for carnival, and that will ultimately make it a much better kind of value for money proposition for funders going forward, because it will simply be a case of ultimately paying for the sheds themselves rather than the actual the drainage and the access to the site itself as well. The total cost of the scheme itself that we're proposing is 4.25 million. So that is £3 million worth of town deal funding, and also an element of match funding, which is 1.25 million, which will come from the HPC Community Mitigation Fund managed by the Somerset Community Foundation. I do need to make members aware that the decision for that match funding from the Somerset Community Foundation is taking place this afternoon. Whilst we can't be certain the outcome, early indications are that it's very positive. So we take heart from that. The decision, so from a governance perspective, this has been through our town deal board. It's also been through the internal insurance group, but we did alert them to the fact that the match funding from the Somerset Community Foundation will not take place until after those decisions, so that they signed off the business cases, but obviously subject to that match funding being confirmed later on today on the 30th. From an economic benefits perspective, there is a positive BCR which has been produced, which is 1.59. So that is for every £1 invested, £1.59 is returned on that investment, and a total economic benefit somewhere in the region of £7 million from this project. So to conclude, this project absolutely delivers on the objectives of the Bridgewater Town deal. It has passed through the internal governance process as well, and really is probably one of the most significant projects from a socio-economic perspective, not only delivering economically, but actually from a social perspective as well, on the basis that Carnival really sits at the very heart of what Bridgewater is, and there are so many people involved in it, from our local communities as well. So that's the kind of sum up of the report from me. Obviously, again, happy to answer any kind of questions in relation to this paper or anything else as well. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And again, town deal, huge economic benefit to Sedgemoor and Bridgewater and to the wider Somerset. I can remember some years ago, speaking anecdotally, when they secured their current site, it was more hook or by crook to get something. What they were using before was even worse, and this was recognition locally of the importance of Carnival, and I believe that moving this forward now is, firmly puts them on the map for continued successful carnivals for many years to come. Members, any comments or questions? No. Right, in that case, the recommendation is there after the executive report. Any objections? Any abstentions? Leila.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm happy to support that. Right, then moving on to agenda item 10, and members will note that this was originally an exempt session, but following review of this, it's now been brought forward to public session, for which I think we're all quite grateful. There was no secrecy intended, and it's far more important to have discussions of this nature in public session. So without further ado, I hand over to Councillor Mike Caswell.
Thank you, Leader. This is quite set out very well in the executive summary. It's to ensure that we just approve the disposal of a small section of land, some 2,995 metres squared at Highbridge, by the way of easement to Hallam Land Management Limited. Should help with the cycle bridge, etc., and entrance to the Brew Farm estate. I think Michelle Fry will explain it far better than myself, so I'll hand over to her.
Thank you, Councillor Caswell. So yes, this report is asking us to consider entering into an easement agreement. So this is to enable the development of the pedestrian and cycle bridge at the Highbridge railway station. The cycle bridge will link the Brew Farm housing development to the train station and the town centre. So that will look to encourage the residents to utilise the town centre, increasing footfall figures for the shops and the businesses. The proposal will also complement the wider regeneration project that's being looked at for the area. So the proposal for the easement, it's not to transfer the title, but it will merely give a legal right for the third party to use the land. The affected area of land, it's a very small section of green space that will accommodate the landing of the bridge only. In accordance with the relevant legislation, we have advertised the disposal of the interest in the land. So that's been advertised over 2 consecutive weeks. We have received some objections, which you will have seen detailed within the report. Whilst the objections are understandable, those objections will be a matter for planning consideration. So the detailed design of that bridge, which will include the lighting and the overall safety, which forms part of those objections, that will be considered as part of the future planning application for the pedestrian and the cycle bridge. So what we're looking at today is purely to look at the agreement for the easement to enable them to put that planning application forward to facilitate the delivery of that bridge. The bridge is also going to look to encourage and support a more sustainable means of transport, so walking, cycling, more use of the railway station, and it will also look to support the growth in the Highbridge area and delivering of housing, which is a key corporate priority for the authority. Whilst we may lose a very small section of open green space, the Brew Farm development itself will be providing new areas of open green space. So we will be getting more areas of open green space to account for that loss. Additionally, there's a current submission for levelling up funding, which includes further improvements for the area and the railway station, which could see up to 7.5 million awarded for that area. And the bridge does play an important part of the infrastructure for that area and for the regeneration plans. So that's the basic setting of the report. Obviously, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well and succinctly put. I mean, people will know railways and access across railways to get to centres of population or existing centres has always been a thorny issue, and without this easement here, it would continue to be an issue. It's not exactly a route without a bridge that doesn't come with risks at the moment, and certainly safety risks. Therefore, I think I'd probably be happy to support the easement here in order to get this moving and provide access for people in a safe and manner. I think a number of the objections are quite valid, but they're not for us at this time to deal with. They are planning, and Councillor Bob Filmer will no doubt be perplexed by the objections during the course of the submission of the planning application. But I think a number of them are quite valid reasons or improvements that could come along with the bridge at that time of deliberation over it. Councillor Filmer.
Thank you, Leader. It was just really to say, not going to get into obviously the planning stuff because that'll come later. But in principle, this particular site we've been talking about for years with the Brew Farm development. The crossing across that river was very much part of the whole thought behind making sure that the residents that come onto that site eventually can get access to both Highbridge and the station without having to go through the road network and through all the increasing the flow of traffic on what is a busy road anyway. So very much support the principle of seeing that bridge come forward. We'll deal with the detail of it as you say, later, but certainly this helps bring to fruition the thinking that was behind having that in the first place, of really to get people walking and cycling from the new development into the town rather than having to go through the highway network and adding to the congestion that already is in Highbridge.
Well put. Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? No. Okay then. Recommendation is as before you to enter into an easement with Hallam Land Management Limited to enable the development of the path to complete or certainly move forward. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, Leila.
Thank you, Leader. Motion's carried.
Good, and I'm happy to support. Moving on then to the other item that was previously in exempt part of the report. Again, equally important for the continuation of the barrier across the Parrot. Councillor Mike Caswell.
Thank you again, Leader. Members, as you all know, we own a small parcel of land which is there for to facilitate the building of the barrage down on Express Park. The report seeks the consent of us to pass that parcel of land to the Environment Agency so that we can they can build the barrier, etc. It's as simple as that, really, and I'm going to hand over to Michelle, who will go through the details. But this is vitally important. As you all know, there's a meeting today in Bridgewater House, and there's also one at St Mary's Church, all about the barrier, which is vital to the protection of Bridgewater and some of the surrounding land. So I pass you over to Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caswell. So as you've mentioned, this report is looking to transfer the freehold of the land at the Express Park from Sedgemoor Council to the Environment Agency. So as I'm sure everyone remembers, the terrible floods that we had in 2014. Following that, there was a 20-year flood action plan which was developed, and part of that plan was to ensure that we could deliver a tidal barrier. So this barrier will look to protect Bridgewater and the surrounding communities from that risk of flooding. It will reduce that flood risk to over 11,000 homes and 1,500 businesses. And the flood prevention plan will therefore secure the economic and environmental well-being of the Bridgewater area. The land itself that we are looking to transfer is just over 2.3 acres of land. It was specifically purchased using ring-fenced funds that were accumulated in the flood tariff, Section 106 budget. So the disposal of the freehold title to the Environment Agency, it's using funds which were the funds used for the purchase were always committed to this scheme. So there's no specific financial implications to the authority. But again, the delivery of the barrier, it's a key corporate priority for the authority. Obviously, with the growing issues of global warming, there's predictions that the sea levels are going to continue to rise. So that's going to make Bridgewater even more vulnerable. So these flood defences are absolutely essential to protect the area. And in addition, the barrier will also, the work to the actual barrier is going to provide additional employment opportunities for the area as well. The transfer of the land, it's a key part of the partnership funding contribution of the authority to the project. So the report recommendation is that transfer is approved. Should the transfer be approved, then we will need to seek consent from county under Section 24 also. So legal may wish to comment on that further. But that's the basics of the report. Again, if you have any questions, be more than happy to try and answer them for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know whether Mr. Hellard wishes to come in at this point or Mr. Bamsey. I note the legal comments and certainly would appreciate certainly a few words on those.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yes, so as we said in the legal comments, the decision really for members is whether the transfer will secure the improvement of the economic and environmental well-being of the area. You've heard the officers' views on that, so that's a decision for members to make. In terms of Section 24, yeah, the value of this property exceeds the £100,000, which is the threshold set out in the Secretary of State Section 24 order. So we will require the consent of the County Council to proceed with this. So any decision today to proceed, should that be the decision, will be subject to that consent being obtained, and of course that will be that application will be made and that decision will be expedited.
Thank you. And I'll just say, I mean, there was never the intention that we as Sedgemoor District Council would build the barrier. It was always a partnership working with the Environment Agency. The Environment Agency ultimately being responsible for specification and to get it done. So this would seem ideal way of tying up the two to guarantee that the barrier will be built in the future. Mr. Bamsey.
Thank you, Leader. Absolutely. We've worked through this project throughout the life with County Council colleagues and indeed members, and most recently with the new members elected to the County Council. There's been 2 briefing sessions held to make sure that there's a wide knowledge of the barrier project amongst the county councillors, who of course will be the new councillors of the Unitary Council, and moreover we've had conversations with the portfolio, some of the key portfolio holders as well. So the County Council is well understanding what this project is. It is also, of course, a project that Somerset Rivers Authority is well aware of which the County Council is a member, as are the other districts. So all in all, a very high visibility and understanding what this project's about. So an important step today, but one very much I would, as working on the basis the County Council will be very happy to support. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? I have to say, from my point of view, in satisfying best value legislation, I feel that this fits the bill to a T, and I have no hesitation in recommending to members of the executive that this is approved and we can move forward. I only too well remember the flooding and the problems that it caused, and how lucky we were that at the end of the day that more properties weren't flooded. But it's something I don't think I or anyone else in the area who has any memory would want to go through again. So this is great prevention and good work by all. So members of the executive, any objections? Any abstentions? Leila.
Thank you, Leader. That's carried.
Thank you. Right. I'm happy to support that. Moving on then to next. Sorry, I'm just fighting a dog at the moment who doesn't seem to understand the importance of an executive meeting or wants to join in, I'm not sure. Right, moving on then to the next report, which will be 12 and 13. Just to say, members, that if you approve, we will ask members of the public and others to leave during deliberations over the following reports by paragraph 1, relating to an individual, paragraph 2, information likely to reveal identity or financial business affairs of the council as defined as exempt by paragraph 3, part 1 of schedule 12A to the Local Government Act as amended. Are members happy that we move into exempt session? Any objections? No. Later, I think that's carried, and I'll ask you, and we'll pause for a second for you to clear the room. Thank you.